Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Tuesday, August 1st, 2023. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my $19 rundown best bet, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Tuesday in Major League Baseball. First up, it's the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Miami Marlins. Ranger Suarez and Sandy Alcantara are your starters. Now, Sandy Alcantara coming off one of his best starts of the season. It was a complete game, 1 run allowed, 7 strikeouts, in a tough spot on the road against the Tampa Bay Rays. That was a 7-1 Marlins win. Now, Sandy against these Phillies, he's had really mixed results. When I say mixed results, I mean it. The first start against Philadelphia on April 10th, he gave up 9 earned runs and 10 base hits in a 15-3 Marlins loss in 4 innings. But the next start against Philadelphia, which was more recent, and it was at Lone Depot Park, where Alcantara's pitched better in his career, he went 6 2/3 innings, only 1 run allowed with 5 strikeouts. Now, the Marlins did not win that game, but Sandy obviously pitched pretty well in that one, and he's been pitching better as of late. In the month of July, a 3.31 ERA and 32 2/3 innings. So going into August, I think Sandy will have, continue his strong pitching. And on the other side, Ranger Suarez has not been in great form. He's giving up 4 earned runs in each of his last 2 starts, and a good amount of sharp contact as well, giving up at least 1 home run in 4 of his last 5 games. That's concerning for me for, a pitch-to-contact ground ball pitcher giving up those home runs. Now he's facing a team that hits lefties very well in the Miami Marlins. Good OPS numbers, low strikeout numbers. I'm going to take the Miami Marlins here on the money line at home. Next up, we see the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Washington Nationals. Freddie Peralta and Josiah Gray are your starters. Freddie Peralta coming off one of his best starts of the season. 6 innings, 13 strikeouts, no earned runs against the Cincinnati Reds. No walks allowed, no home runs allowed, and a 3-0 Brewers win. But that was at American Family Field, where, Freddie Peralta has pitched really well at home. On the road this season and in years prior, he has struggled away from home with a 5.04 ERA this year and 44 2/3 innings. And facing a Nationals team that does a really good job at limiting strikeouts, I do think Peralta could struggle early on in this one. Josiah Gray, we know he's really struggled at Nationals Park this season, but his last 2 starts, he's really made some improvements against the San Francisco Giants and the Cincinnati Reds, where he went 12 innings combined, only 4 runs allowed, some good strikeout numbers as well. I do think Gray can keep the Nationals in this game in the early part of this one. I don't love this Nationals bullpen, and we've mentioned the Brewers bullpen has really made improvements in the second half of the season thus far. So I like the Nationals in the first 5 innings, getting a half a run. Don't know if they're going to be able to hold on with that bullpen, but I'll take Washington plus the half a run in the first 5. Next up, we go to Yankee Stadium as the Rays take on the Yankees. Zach Eflin and Carlos Rodon are your starters. Tough game here. I am leaning towards the Yankees, but Carlos Rodon does scare me a little bit. When you look at his last start against the Mets, it was a little bit misleading. 5 2/3 innings, 1 run looks really good on paper, but he only had 4 strikeouts in that one. I would really want to see Carlos Rodon's strikeout numbers rise. Only 15 Ks in 20 1/3 innings is a little bit of a concern with 12 walks to go with it. And also in that start against the Mets, he gave up a lot of sharp contact, a lot of lineouts, a lot of at-bats where the expected batting average was above 500, but the Yankees made good defensive plays that kept the Mets off the base pads. But you're not going to be able to bank on that each and every start. And if you're giving up a lot of sharp contact, eventually you're going to get burned. And we saw that in the previous outings for Rodon. The only problem for Tampa Bay is that they've really struggled against lefties. That's why I really can't get there with Tampa Bay here. Their numbers against lefties, isolated power-wise and team OPS-wise, are just not good in the last month. And Zach Eflin's also not in the best form, where he hasn't pitched great on the road this season with a 5.36 ERA. Aaron Judge is back in the lineup, and that does make a difference for the Yankees. We've already seen it. And and Eflin in 2 of his last 3 starts, giving up 5 earned runs or more, and only 3 strikeouts his last game against the Marlins in 4 innings of work. No strikeouts against the Royals in his last road start back on July 16th. I think the Yankees win this game, but like I said, a little bit concerned with Rodon right now. Next up, we see the Detroit Tigers taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. We're going to see Yohan Oviedo and Matt Manning on the mound in this one. Now, finally, the Pittsburgh Pirates snapped that 8-game losing streak in Yohan Oviedo starts as they took down the Padres in Oviedo's last start. It was a 3-2 victory in the end. Oviedo went 6 innings, 1 run, pitched really well in that one. Even though he has struggled in the month of July overall, he does face a Tigers team that has not been great against right-handed pitchers this season and in the last 30 days. And one could argue the Pirates' offense is starting to improve. We saw that in the Philadelphia series where the Buccos scored 13 runs in the final 2 games. facing Matt Manning, who really struggled his last start against the Angels. Now he's at Comerica Park, where Manning has pitched better in his career at home. He gave up 7 base hits, 7 earned runs, and 3 home runs in that game. Now he's on the road where he has struggled. He struggled last year. So far this year, an ERA above 4. I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Pirates. I also think they have the better bullpen in this matchup. So give me the Pirates on the money line. Next up, we go to the AL East as the Orioles take on the Blue Jays. Kyle Bradish and Hyun-Jin Ryu making his season debut in this one for Toronto. Now, Ryu, in 18 innings of work in the rehab starts, pitched in AAA, Single A, and Rank A ball. He gave up 4 runs, so a 2.00 ERA. His control was really good. His strikeout numbers were fine, a little bit below strikeout per inning. But the big concern for me would be the home run ball, giving up 3 homers in those 18 innings. You're facing an Orioles team that's really made improvements against lefties. Now they're 3rd in baseball in the last 30 days in isolated power against lefties with a 782 team OPS to go with it. I do think Rio could struggle here. He was obviously not going to probably pitch deep into this ballgame either with his first start back. So I do think there's an advantage there for Baltimore. Bradish struggled in his last game, but before that, he was really sharp for the Orioles. In 4 of his last 5 starts, giving up 2 earned runs or fewer with good strikeout numbers to go with it. I'm going to take the Orioles here on the money line on the road. Next up, it's the Los Angeles Angels taking on the Atlanta Braves at Truist Park. Patrick Sandoval and Spencer Strider are your projected starters. Now, Patrick Sandoval and this Angels bullpen, I'm a little bit worried about in this game. Sandoval, a lefty, he's pitched better on the road than he has at Angels Stadium, but he's facing a Braves team that's crushing lefties right now. We talk about how they crush righties, but they're number 1 in baseball in team OPS and isolated power against lefties in the last month, with a pretty low strikeout rate of 21.8% to go with it. Sandoval, his control's been an issue for him this year. He throws a lot of pitches early in starts. He's only gone 5 innings in 4 of his last 5 starts, 5 innings exactly, so not going too deep into ball games. And the Angels bullpen, which has an ERA above 6 in the last month, has had to work a lot in his starts. So that's a concern for me right off the bat. I think the Braves offense has a big day here. And Spencer Strider, even though he has not been great at Truist Park this season, and overall, it's 3.73 ERA is a little bit steep for him. He still has really good strikeout numbers. He's had double-digit strikeouts in each of his last 4 starts. I think he'll be good enough here for the Braves to win this game and cover the run line in the end. So I'll lay those 1.5 runs here with Atlanta, and think about laying 2.5 runs as well. Next up, we go to Wrigley Field as the Reds take on the Cubs. Ben Lively and Justin Steele are your starters. Now, Ben Lively overall this year in 67 innings, a solid 3.76 ERA, but a 4.8 FIP and a 4.56 expected ERA does add some regression concerns to his game. And Justin Steele on the other side has been pitching well this season, 11-3 record, 2.87 ERA. He's in good form. His last 2 starts against the Cardinals, 12 1/3 innings, 3 runs, 13 strikeouts. The Reds have struggled against lefties in the last month, where they're 20th and 25th in team OPS and isolated power against southpaws. And when you look at the bullpens, I think the Cubs have the advantage there just in the ERA and the expected number department in the last 30 days and pretty much overall this season as well. I think the Cubs have the better starting pitcher, the better offensive matchup, and the better bullpen in this game. So give me the Chicago Cubs on the money line with a lean towards the run line as well. Next up, we'll go to Minute Maid Park as the Guardians take on the Astros. Gavin Williams and Framber Valdez are your starters. Just plainly based on value, I like the Guardians in this game, getting a really good plus money price. Framber Valdez is a great starting pitcher overall, but not in great form right now. 4 of his last 5 starts, giving up 4 earned runs or more. His last 3 games against the Angels, A's, and Rangers, 5 earned, 4 earned, and 6 earned. His last game against the Rangers, a 13-5 Rangers win. He's giving up sharp contact. His control's been off. His strikeout numbers now starting to dip in his last couple of starts. And the Guardians already do a really good job at limiting strikeouts. We talk about that all the time against righties, but against lefties in the last month, a 15.7% strikeout rate for Cleveland against lefties, the lowest in baseball. Pretty good power numbers for Cleveland against lefties in the last month. Gavin Williams is in good form. He's had a pretty weak strength of schedule recently, but good strikeout numbers. The control's a little bit of a concern, but not giving up a lot of home runs recently. The Astros are a tough lineup, but I think we're getting a really good price with Cleveland, so worth a shot. So give me the Guardians on the money line on the road. Next up, we see the New York Mets taking on the Kansas City Royals with Jose Quintana and Zach Greinke on the mound. Zach Greinke, even though he's been pitching better at Kauffman Stadium than on the road, I can't trust him in this game. He had an ERA above 7 in June, an ERA above 7 in July. He's facing a Mets team that's done pretty well against righties as of late. I think he struggles in this one, but I also think the Royals will chip in a few runs in this game against Jose Quintana. The Royals have a pretty low strikeout rate against lefties in the last month, pretty good power numbers, and their OPS is in the top 15 as well in that last month against lefties. So give me the over here in New York, Kansas City, as both of these bullpens have also struggled mightily mightily, with the Royals owning a 5.76 bullpen ERA and the league's worst SIERA, while the Mets have the 7th worst SIERA in the league in the last month. And they just lost David Robertson to the trade deadline. Probably going to lose Brooks Raley as well. We'll see if that's before this game, but I'm going to take the over here in New York, Kansas City. Next up, it's the Minnesota Twins taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. Pablo Lopez going for the Twins, and right now it's Jack Flaherty for St. Louis, but he could be traded at the trade deadline and may not pitch for St. Louis in this game. Both of these teams hitting righties very well in the last month, but the Twins do have better numbers power-wise, OPS-wise. Pablo Lopez, even though his team has not been able to back him up offensively as of late, he is still pitching pretty well. He's going deeper into ball games. He's striking out batters. If Flaherty is a starter here, you have to think he's a little bit distracted going into this outing. Cardinals bullpen has not been very good. I got to take the Minnesota Twins here on the money line on the road. Next up, we see the Chicago White Sox taking on the Texas Rangers. John Gray going for the Rangers, no official starter for Chicago. Now, both of these teams have been very active, two of the more active teams before the MLB trade deadline this season. The White Sox as sellers and the Rangers as buyers, big-time buyers in that starting rotation. We knew the Rangers were looking to replace, Jacob deGrom, even though the guys like Nathan Eovaldi, Dane Dunning, and even a guy like John Gray have stepped it up in his absence. That's still, their big-time free agent acquisition, one of the best pitchers in baseball. The Rangers were looking to do some damage here as buyers in the deadline. They've made a few nice pickups. But in this game, John Gray, his last start against the Astros, 6 earned runs, 5 innings. I don't love the form that he's in. I think he had a much better first half of the season. That's why I don't love this game overall, because I also don't love Chicago right now. They have a lot of players to replace in that rotation, in that bullpen. This would have been Lance Lynn's spot in the rotation. Of course, he was traded to Los Angeles. I'm going to stay away from this game altogether, but if I had to lean, I'm going to take the better offense here in the Texas Rangers laying those 1.5 runs. Go to Coors Field as the Padres take on the Rockies. Peter Lambert for Colorado, no official starter for San Diego. For me, just to lean towards the over in this game, Peter Lambert has been pitching better as of late. The month of July, no earned runs allowed in 14 innings, but only 3 of those 14 innings were at Coors Field. Overall this season, Lambert's got an ERA above 8 when he's pitching at home, so I do think he struggles. We saw him pitch against the Padres back on June 9th at Coors. He gave up 2 home runs and only 3 innings of work in a 9-6 final score, so high-scoring game. The Padres bullpen, if this is a bullpen game, it's not in great shape. A 4.86 ERA in the last month for that bullpen. Not great expected numbers to go with it. Give me the over here in San Diego, Colorado. Next up, we go to Seattle as the Red Sox take on the Mariners. Brian Bayo and Bryce Miller are your starters. Now, I mentioned the last time that Bayo took them out, and I was a little bit worried about the fact that he was giving up a lot of home runs. I think that Bayo is his best when he's keeping the ball on the ground. He's a pitch-to-contact guy, but giving up in 23 innings in July 7 home runs, that's a concern for me with a 5.48 ERA to go with it. Only 15 strikeouts in those 23 innings. And you're going on the road. It's a pitcher-friendly ballpark, but you're facing a Mariners team that's top 10 in baseball in both OPS and isolated power as a team against righties in the last 30 days. I don't love this spot for Brian Bayo, and I really like Bryce Miller when he's pitching at T-Mobile Park, where this season in 43 1/3 innings at home, he's 5-1 with a 2.7 ERA, 41 strikeouts, only 5 home runs to go with it. I think the Mariners have the better bullpen in this game as well, so give me the Seattle Mariners on the money line in this. Next up, we see the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the San Francisco Giants. Zach Gallen and Alex Wood are your projected starters for now, but there is no official lineup for this game, so we could see a pitching change. Now, Zach Gallen has been struggling. Plainly put, his last 3 starts, all losses for Arizona. His last game against the Cardinals, 5 earned runs allowed, 2 home runs, 5 homers combined his last 3 outings. On the road this season, Gallen's got an ERA just below 5 at 4.97 in 63 1/3 innings. So, yes, San Francisco's lineup is struggling, but so is Arizona's. I don't think that Gallen's going to get a lot of run support in this game. And Alex Wood, if he is the starting pitcher here, pitched well in his last appearance against the A's. 3 innings of shutout baseball, no walks, only 1 base hit. He's facing a Diamondbacks team that is in the bottom half of baseball against lefties in the last 30 days in team OPS and isolated power. Giants have a solid bullpen. Arizona's not playing great baseball right now. Give me the San Francisco Giants on the money line. And that's it. Those are the games for Tuesday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.